Thank you. I'm Diane Jarvenpa. Thank you for coming to the Midstream Reading Series in July. Look at this. It's a full moon tonight. What are you guys doing here? We have wonderful writers. That's why we're all here. One of the first things we do is a tradition that Dave Show is the person who started this series over 10 years ago. And we go around the room and we ask everyone, what's your connection to writing, whether you're a writer or you're a reader or a teacher or whatever. It's our way of kind of community. So I'm going to start with this lovely lady right here.
I'm Donna, and I'm a writer and a former teacher, although I still teach. And I just love to read, and yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, and I'm Jim Johnson, and I've written some books, and I have a book tonight to read about Finnish Americana. And I taught 39 and a half years in an institution or another, and I teach family history right now. So.
I'm Julie Bolton, and I'm a writer also, but I was an actor for many years, and I taught, was an artist teacher kind of person at Augsburg College for a long, long time. And that's theater, in theater.
So I'm Martha. I'm a retired psychologist, but I also write. I've written a memoir and I write poetry.
I'm Katie and I'm an avid reader.
I'm Sergey. My dad's a poet. He's wrote many books and wrote a lot of my papers.
He's read some of them.
I'm Crit Street, and I'm a visual artist, an avid reader. If you haven't read There Are Rivers in the Sky, I just finished that, and it was fabulous. And I was a professor of art for many, many years.
I'm John Boardwell. I'm a reader, and I'm the star of a book that my wife is writing.
Wow. That's the way to do it.
I'm Brian. I'm a poet and avid reader of poetry and all kinds of other things too.
I'm Paula. I'm a writer, avid reader, and a teacher and editor.
I'm Morgan, and I'm also a poet and essayist, avid reader, and I'm still retired mostly, but still teaching at the Loft and with Compass Artful Aging programs.
I'm Narita, and I write poetry and I read it and a lot of other things.
I'm Mary Kay Rummel, and I'm a poet and a teacher. I was a teacher, and I believe it or not, still teach. Now and again. Oh, and I just finished this greatest book. I'm telling you, I'm being an influencer on it, a novel called The Fire Concerto. And if you love art and if you love music, I just run out and get that book. It's the best book I've read in years.
Good to know.
Yeah. I'm Pat. I'm a poet, but I'm just finishing a novel I started decades ago. Never say that.
I'm Kim, and I'm an ecologist professionally, but also been writing poetry, essays, and I love to read just about anything. Lately I've been reading a lot about economics.
I'm Paul. I'm a poet and one of the hosts.
I'm Kirk. I'm a writer-reader.
I'm Donna. I'm an writer.
I'm Diego. My connection to writing is always in my heart.
I'm Paula. I was a pandemic coordinator for several years with writing group. And I write poetry, but I don't have a library of books like the other
I'm Bethany. I'm an arts administrator, and I love to read.
I'm Tim. I'm a poet, a podcaster.
My name is Bee Wenham. I'm a poet and a welder.
Cool.
I'm Amy. I'm a reader, writer, and teacher.
I'm Tanya. I'm a reader and a writer.
I'm Tom. I'm a writer.
I'm Kathleen. I'm a reader and I'm a traveler to Italy with Jim Johnson.
Oh, wow.
And Steve and I was on that same trip.
Next time you have to ask all the rest of us. So, the other tradition is for the host to read something. So I thought I'd read this poem. I attended a Writers for Democratic Action town hall like a week and a half ago, which the organization started in New York during the pandemic. And now Minnesota has a chapter. So you can join, there's a website up, and Ilya Kaminsky read at the town hall, and he let us put this poem on our website. So I thought I would read this. It's called Psalm for the Slightly Tilted. This is not a good year, but it has witnesses. When you see them protest the powerful, because who else protests the powerful? They stand like flagpoles outside the courthouse after the Northeaster. They came with the wrong shoes for revolution. Still, they showed up. They came in clothes that gave up first beneath the clouds, torn as boiled hospital sheets. Comfort, Lord, their bodies, each a question mark doing time as a coat rack hung with borrowed jackets. They are your legion of bent spoons. They are the only ones who showed up with their orthopedic flair. They cant off rhythm and mean it. They are my kind of people. No tears, just steam from a kettle that never boils. In times like these, don't forget us, the lopsided leaning on one another like paper bags. Comfort us standing, half scarecrow, half saxophone, with a squawk. Comfort us sitting, which we do like furniture of the modestly ambitious. In the year they come for us, watch my people make protest signs out of old pizza boxes. Watch. There are no boring people, which is unfortunate. You'd think statistically we'd get at least a few. One speeds souls with just meh stuff to do. But none of them are dull. Each carries a suitcase held together by Scotch tape. Comfort them, standing up where stiffness becomes state policy, their bodies folded umbrellas. Comfort them sitting in that collapse called calm. These are your coffee-stained saints who rise not with trumpets but with Advil. They stand and wait, creased like maps of the country that doesn't exist anymore. Our first reader, our first poet is Donna Isaac. She's a teaching artist who works through the League of Minnesota Poets to spread literary joy in the Twin Cities. Published work includes Footfalls, Pocahontas Press, Tommy, Red Dragonfly Press, Holy Comforter, Red Bird Chapbooks, Assistance of Vision, Fishing Line Press, and In the Tilling, Finishing Line Press. Please welcome Donna Isaac.
Thanks, Diane.
Do you need help with that?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. First, I apologize for the bruise on my face. I had a root canal, so I'm like, it looked like I was in a bar fight. I have a new book. It's called In the Tilling, and it's got recipes, which is not the most important thing. I think the poems are important. And It's focused a lot on food and gardening and the natural world and so on. But I have a few for sale if you're interested. I was thinking very much about a friend who passed away not too long ago, and I thought I would start with an elegy that I wrote and included in the tilling. His last name was Hagström, which is Swedish for cherry tree dweller by the stream, and comes into play a little bit. Okay. Distant lighting, an elegy for John Hagström. All day rain fell, a song on the radio, a perfect alignment with melancholy. Yet a rock lobster jouncing across my sensibility brought you up, my friend, in joyous puffs. Colorado bulldog in hand, smoke rings overhead, toe-headed in bibbed jeans on a summer night. The night the Northrop balcony swayed to Love Shack. Dancing Johnny, rainbow farmer, bang bang on the floor, the balcony barely moored to plaster. We exited to rain-slick streets arm in arm near Lind Hall. At Chester's, you fried Monte Cristos as crisp as the ruffled toque you wore. Mini donuts at the Taste of Minnesota, 5 years slinging yellow dough into hoppers, reefer in the porta potty, cold Coronas on ice. Spatula mad, you cooked for kings, basting T-bones, serving drag queens in your old St. Paul house, wallpapered with your art. One of our last times together, cheesy chips, salsa in sombrero bowls, rain spattering strung lights. Somehow, we lost touch, but found each other at the mall. You slathered butter on pastry for Cinnabons, tucked like crowns inside paper boxes, your eye-rolling boredom evident. I bumped into you at Restoration Hardware, looking at faux school lights, with Jason, your true love, who left you bereft, back to his former life, 2 kids and a wife from Fargo. Was it White Russians, a party every night, rendezvous in dark bars? When we pretended to be the Golden Girls, you were always Blanche, an AIDS cocktail socked down with a screwdriver. Your voice scraped the air, so many screams into your pillow. No one bothered to tell me your sister found you, bleeding from the mouth on the white tile polished with Bon Ami. Your Japanese robe loose over a bloated tummy, your head bruised, parents never accepting, even in death, their only son, those good Swedes safe in suburbia with their schnoodle and you, cherry tree dweller by a stream, singing at the top of your lungs, it's the end of the world as we know it, I feel fine. Light play in gelled hair, blue eyes snapping with flecks of gold, one hooped ear beneath a disco ball. Electricity in the air, the line gone dead, an unacknowledged sympathy card, hot tears until you float like Moses down the swollen river of your life, whirling in eddies others stirred around you. Dancing Johnny, hydroplaning into another dimension, tin roof rusted. That's for John. This next poem is a little more. You never know if you clap, I know. This one's called Artichokes. Everything was a hand grenade to my brothers who liked to play war, though we knew as children of the 60s the horrors of Miley, napalm, one-armed vets. A pine cone or an artichoke is not made of metal and lacks a ring to detonate, a fuse to ignite, explode, and fragment. Once I tried to prepare artichokes, but was afraid of the spiny leaves, the thistle, the choke, that when the heart is bared, the soft core bathed in oil, it's an aphrodisiac. not an implement of destruction. It melts as Sinara did in the arms of Zeus, who jilted, flung her away into the earth to emerge all spiny and green, enclosing deep delights. And this one, you'll see the food theme, avocado/father. Rasps, roads, sandpaper, rough or bumpy, ridged or rutted, tough on the thumb like an avocado, an alligator pear, peel like reptilian scutes or aging skin benefited by avocado oil, unctuous flesh spooned out, smashed and smeared onto toast, a new age breakfast, or a drip with thyme, lemon, and lime and Tabasco for a guacamole tang. My father had an outer toughness, tempered by a yielding heart, not like a stony seed, more like an ooze of cherry cordial or milky gush from coconut, softness evident upon breaking, which hearts do, though they can turn hard after being bruised, mishandled. An avocado cradles a core when suspended in water, sprouts fresh tendrils to begin life anew. A human heart stops forever. And still from this book. Sorry. This one's called Taste. Of the 5 essential tastes, salty, sweet, sour, bitter, umami, bitter is a fascination. It's often spat out. Yet it is savored as Starbucks dark coffee, cocoa, hops, citrus peel, tonic, a bed of escarole or chicory beneath a roasted monkfish. Bitter herbs at Seder are dipped in salt. Bitter melon can be stir-fried. A psychic wound can leave a bitter taste rising in the gut to the mouth. Some people are bitter. It's hard to be around them, their bitterness long-lived, never shaking the dirt free, never getting to the sweets. This one's called Task at Hand, and I have an epigraph. No, I do not weep at the world. I am too busy sharpening my oyster knife. Zora Neale Hurston. The stars slide into rest. Go ahead and forget. You gaze out the kitchen window, a soapy dish in your hand. Your face reflects in the cold pane. A busy squirrel cleans his face like a fly and flattens, absorbing final heat. The world is somewhere out there, the work of our hands, mighty rubble. Leave the world behind, unwept for, the last plate unwashed. A cloud of suds winks in the sink, in the snap of new darkness. And then the last one I'm going to read from this book is the title poem, In the Tilling. It's not only about ancestors and gardening and food, it's also about my writing poetry at a later age, tilling up and digging up stuff. In the Tilling. The ancestors killed for food. Hogs shot, strung up, gutted, chickens axed, rabbits trapped. The ancestors turned ground, clods of red clay, sowed seed beds, cucumber hills. The ancestors canned peaches, strung leather breeches, made ketchup, chow-chow, piccalilli, green tomato pie. They milked cows, smoked ham, churned butter. Like Antaeus, their strength came from earth. This is the stuff of country music, porch swapping, the Georgics. Crosshatches in my hands are dirty from working this morning the soil of my garden. No amount of pumice or progress removes that longitude within my palm. No amount of rainfall can wash these roots away. A A song goes up to the mountaintop, the one that resurrects those who remember the shed, the table of pies, the hand on the hoe. Ghosts rise from tomato jars, hot out of the back, in first green shoots, in muddy boots by the door. The soul can be fertile like loam in the tilling, late, even unto evening. I think I'll end. I'm writing some poems about words that I like. Do I have time? Okay. So I'll read two. They're prose poems. One's called Lonely. Think of all the songs about loneliness. I'm so lonesome I could cry. Good old Hank Williams in that whippoorwill. Eleanor Rigby with her face in a jar by the door. Three Dog Night with one is the loneliest number. Green Day's Armstrong's shadow is the only thing that walks beside him. Loneliness sits in the same place as grief, a lump in the heart. People are not meant to be alone. Solitude is something else. Emerson says to seek it in the stars. In New York, little table lamp robots are now keeping lonely elders company. I guess that's better than nothing. Lonely is sad, all those soft L's, that long O, like a deep down moan, gray rainfall, a Shakespearean invention. Lonely is like endless drops of water, eroding seconds away. And then the last poem. Thanks for listening. I hope you're enjoying, and I'm honored to be here with these great poets. This was called Mote, M-O-T-E. In a Faulkner story, A Rose for Emily, the narrator takes note of a mote spiraling within a beam of sunlight. After reading this image, I had to look up the word mote, the Old English Dutch roots relating to sawdust, like the speck in your brother's eye. I never knew the spinning dust had a name and just thought it was dirt. Motes are a little like fairies, a fantasia dance of minuscule gray and white fluff captured by light. Motes are on the move, not inert like dust bunnies beneath the bed. Once I blew upon some floating motes, and they scattered, broke free from the sunbeam like dandelion seeds in the wind. In truth, motes are dirt, mixed with pollen, mites, fiber, hair, skin, and such. They are little pieces of us, mementos mori. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Was it the soul is as fertile as loam, or
like loam?
Like loam. I love that. There's so many wonderful things. Thank you for reading. And yeah, and definitely enjoy everyone's ability to purchase these people's books. That's a good thing. How we get our words out. Our next reader is Jim Johnson. I've known him for, gee whiz, a few years. He's published 10 books of poetry, including The First Day of Spring in northern Minnesota, a Minnesota Book Award finalist, Yoik, a Northeast Minnesota Book Award winner, selected poems, One Morning in June from Red Dragonfly Press, and Standing Up, Ode to John Toussaint Bernard. He was twice honored as Duluth Poet Laureate. Please welcome Jim Johnson.
Okay. Thank you for coming out to a poetry reading, and I'm glad to hear there's so many readers. I didn't know people did that anymore. I want to thank Diane for, first of all, inviting me to read this series. It's a well-known series, and I want to, as Diane said, we've known each other for a long time, so I'm, honored to read with her and read her series. I also I started writing poetry. I started publishing poetry when I started writing about Finns in northern Minnesota, and I didn't know anybody except for one person who was writing about Finns, and that was Diane's mother, Jarvenpa. And so she was an inspiration for me, so that was great. So it's good that we're here today.
Yeah.
I put my Finnish American work in a book called A Good Sauna Always Burns Down, and it's kind of a collection, a selected poems collection, and I'll read from that tonight. When I started, one of the early poems is this one. Is this mic okay? Am I in the right place here? Okay.
Yes.
I have to kind of balance where the mic is and where the light is.
We can hear you fine.
What's that?
We can hear you fine.
Okay, yeah, okay. At Eagle Lake. An east wind blows off Lake Superior. Birch burns in the basement fireplace. Hjalmar Hoagland takes up the fiddle, turns up his hearing aid. Solo Osted, retired from Minnesota Power and Light, is without a right arm. He plays the accordion, the harmonica, held with a brace like Bob Dylan's, and taps an Arco coffee can with his boot. Together they play a fine Kluker and Valsy. 3 generations of blue eyes have gathered around. Only one, a 2-year-old, dances. The music makes translations in her feet. My grandparents were all born in Finland, so they're immigrants. And as far as back as I can remember, immigrants have been an issue. And they've also been a problem for some people, but they've also done a lot of great things. And that was one of the reasons I started writing about these people, because my grandparents and their friends I knew were pioneers and had done some great things. So they inspired me too. So this is called We Are All Immigrants. There's a word in here called vilja, which is a Finnish delicacy. It's yogurt, and if you go to Finland, you can buy it in little yogurt cartons. But it was first brought to this country by immigrants, and it was in a dried form, and then they added water and they grew it into it's like yogurt. We are all immigrants. I was born in this country. My mother was born in the old country. I was born of my mother. I was born of the old country. As she is an immigrant, I am an immigrant. As I am an immigrant, we are all immigrants. Together we are crossing the land bridge, arm in arm. Together we are leg iron, ballast and steerage, in the hold our bodies retching, folded in prayer. We are all immigrants together, all our possessions in a single trunk. The photographs of our ancestors stained with olive oil, our longing cured with lutefisk, our vilja dried and like our past pressed between pages of our Bible. And in Saxon medicine, in muskrat skin, arrowroot, eagle down, and dried flowers, only a gold locket and a few seed potatoes in a pocket. Our hopes already reduced by early winters, uncertain words, and drought. Together we are crossing the barbed wire, the stars arcing in the corners of our eyes. That my father always had a little batch of that vilja growing in the refrigerator. So I always thought culture, when I was young, I thought culture was something that grew in the refrigerator. We know that it's more than that, and I come to understand. And so when I wrote this book, I was thinking that parts of our culture get lost. They get forgotten. They get destroyed. They get burned down. And we need to, but we are able to find them. We're able to remember. We're able to write down. We're able to rebuild. And so the sauna may have been burned down, but it gets rebuilt. An old man teaches a young man how to rebuild the sauna. This first one, I'm going to read 4 pieces. They're short, but in the first 2, the titles are long. that material objects dissolve at the subatomic level into wave-like patterns of probability or interconnections. Each log the old man measured against the intersecting log and sawed the corners so that each dovetail angled down and out the way water would flow off a bird's tail. He then measured and sawed the intersecting log to fit. If you look closely, he told the young man, you will see you need not know more than the possibility of birds. Thus, the world appears as a complicated weave of events in which the connections alternate, overlap, and combine to determine the texture of the whole. After augering a hole through the top log and into the next log, the old man began to pound a wooden peg. A square wooden peg, the young man insisted, a square peg into the round hole with a mallet until the top of the peg was flush with the top of the log. As the logs dry out, the old man explained, they will shift up or down, seek out and fill out the corners. Eventually the peg will find its own voice. That is how the history of the trees will then be told to each log. It's a log sound. It kind of looks like this. Okay. Each log squared, except the outside of the log flared out to repel the rain, and the bottom of the next log is shaped to fit the top of the last log. The corners carefully measured and cut to dovetail together. Then each log drilled and pegged. Let your dreams be drawn in the dirt with a stick. No Oakham moss or pages of the Sears Roebuck catalog needed. No rags, scraps of wool, or slabs to fill the cracks, other than the stories we tell. Splitting wood. As the young man placed log after log under the block, lifted them all and let it fall, each log split open, the way the future is told, in the dregs in the bottom of the coffee cup, in birch conchs and ends, in black knots and an east wind. And he knew. Together they had cut, squared, cornered, and pegged, log by log. Together they had rebuilt the sauna. Not only a place to bathe, warm up or cool down, not only a place to sprout seeds or dry herbs, not only a place to be born in or a place to prepare the dead for burial, but a place they had built. Together they had cut, squared, cornered, and pegged together. The sauna is a holy place. You may only whisper. The fire is lit as a hinge to the heavens. So let us now throw water and baptize these stones, whispered the naked old man sitting on a bench next to the young, also naked man, who threw water from a carved wooden dipper onto the rocks on the top of the hot sauna stove. The steam rose. Thus the word is spoken, the old man went on, as water rises into steam, as memory recited and sung. This too is how we rise, winked the old man, to a higher bench. Let us now name these stones. When I was growing up, before I get to that, when I started writing, I was reading a lot of books about people, probably, writers my age, who had seen a lot of the blues players. They talked about how they had seen Coltrane and they had seen, the big bands like Glenn Miller and so forth. And when I was growing up, the big bands on the Iron Range were polka bands. Okay, this is for you. The big bands on the Iron Range were polka bands. Number 1, Whoopie John Wilfart from New Ulm, Minnesota. Frankie Yankovic all the way from Cleveland, Ohio. Bobby Arrow from Iron. Leroy Larson and the Scandinavian Hotshots. Lauren Lindevig, the Shimoleski brothers from Sturgeon Lake. Les Harkinen from Virginia. They all played here at the Miners Hall in Virginia, at Dee's Bar in Ely, Kenny K's in Biwabic, Hank's Bar in Aurora, Nani's in Evelyn, the VFW in Gilbert, the Municipal in Tower, the Wandering Pines last seen near McKinley, the Daisy Bay Inn on beautiful Lake Vermilion, the Friendly Mary in Embarrass, the Slovenian Home in Chisholm, the Eagles in Grand Rapids, at Len's Elmwood Inn in downtown Atkinson, the Ukrainian Hall in International Falls, St. Casimir's Catholic Church in Virginia, and at Patsy's wedding. They all play here, by golly. That was sort of a. I gotta tell you, that was sort of a setup for this poem. The big bands and the Iron Ranger Polka Band's #2. Memories and imagination melt together like the nationalities working in the minds. The way I now see Mom and Dad walking down Sheridan Street, arm in arm. Mom in her Mamie Eisenhower-style black silk dress and matching pillbox hat, and Dad in his gray pinstripe suit and fedora, walking downtown to Dee's Bar. Mom and Dad going out on Saturday night, going out dancing, his one hand on her hip and his other on her shoulder, escorting her out and around, warming up to the blue skirt waltz, and then the Yugoslav polkas played so beautifully on the button box. He and she moving 1 and 2 and on their toes, 1 and 2 and around and gliding 1 and 2 and across the floor, like they were old Fred Moldavsky and Ginger Mackey. 1 and 2 and so gracefully in love, their feet barely touching the floor, like nighthawks flying across Chagua Lake. Smooth they were, smooth as black velvet, smooth as Canadian whiskey, even now elegant and dreamy as memories ever are. While at home, I lay awake waiting, though I knew they would be among the last to leave. Thank you. I'm gonna read one more. Okay. How many of you know the Finnish national epic, the Kalevala? You know, have you read? A few of you know about it. Okay. All right. Just to give you a little background, the Kalevala was the Finns were so far north in Europe that they were civilized or Christianized, whatever you want to call it, last. And so a lot of the old traditions and old ways lasted a long time. And scholars went out, and particularly a man named Elias Lönnrot went out and collected these old runes. These runes were sung, like Diane plays on the gantua, and they were passed on. It was the oral tradition. It was a shamanic tradition, and it was passed on, and all these songs were collected then into one book. They were written down in a book called the Kalevala, which became very important for Finnish nationalism and very important for declaring their independence. So it's kind of a good thing. In the Kalevala, there's one character named Vainamuinen, who is old. He created the world out of an egg. And as I said, he sang these runes, and one day this other character, this Jukkahainen, challenged him to a rune singing contest, and Jukkahainen got beat. He was said to be drowning in a swamp of song, and so he needed to pay off Vainamuinen, so he offered his sister. Well, sister, Jukkahainen's mother thought that was a really good deal because Vainamuinen was so famous. After all, but Aino was a girl's name, and Aino realized that this Vainamuinen was quite old, several hundred years old. And she said, I don't want to be married to an old man. So there are a lot of reasons why people immigrated, came from the old country to this country, sometimes because of wars, sometimes because of famines, sometimes because of, what else? Many things, political upheavals, and sometimes it's just familial situations and so on. I kind of thought Aino might have emigrated to the United States, so I happened to be in this tavern one night, and it's a tavern. If you go to Two Harbors and you drive up Highway 2, there's a turnout to Brimson, and Brimson is where they had the big fire this spring. Anyway, at that Brimson turnout, there's a tavern named The Big Noise. So this is where I thought I saw her, and so this is called Aino's Big Noise Tavern Blues. She was born in the old country where her mother baked bread and braided her hair. She was born in the old country where, at the age of 12, she smoked behind the barn. She smoked in the outhouse. She smoked on the road. She smoked tobacco, even birch leaves rolled in bark, and her mother didn't know what to do. She who was born in the old country came to this country. Now she's been to Calumet. Now she's been to New York Mills, been to Harlem, 2 Harbors too, where she sits at the end of the bar and looks at you. Sips on a grain belt and takes a long, slow drag on a Chesterfield and exhales skeletons of smoke. Been a long time. Been a long time since a fast Ford on Highway 2 stopped and asked for her. Been a long time, she says, as she winks at you. Been a long time. Been a long time since Billy Mackey took me out, she says, out into the rain-pelting April night, into his car. Been a long time. Sitting close, she says, I let my fingers fill his hair. Like Brill cream, she says, as he shifted through the gears into speed, the real speed gaining on the night. This is why I came. This is why I, who was born in the old country, came to this country. Been a long time, she says. Been a long time since the rain slashing through high beams at windshield wipers. Been a long time since a fork of lightning appeared. Since a deer, not a real deer, but a white skeleton, a ghost from the negative night appeared. Like this smoke, she says, waving it away with her arm. When smash, green antifreeze and blood boiling over, the engine running on and on. Been a long time, she says. Been a long time. Thank you.
We've been sick together. All my grandparents also came from Finland. And what was the barn in Barris?
Friendly Mary.
Friendly Mary?
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you for, for those of you, sauna is a Finnish word, sauna, South Finland. We are very proud of our sauna. It's a big part of our culture, and so thank you for reading all of those, Jim. Our next reader, our next writer, our next poet, Paula Cisewski. Am I saying that correct? Nope. I was going to get it wrong. I heard it and I forgot. Cisewski. I knew that, and it's been long. Her 6th book, The Becoming Game, was released from Hanging Loose Press in June. She is also the author of Ceremonies for No Repair, Quitter, Guyot Editions book prize winner, The Threatened Everything, Ghost Fargo, Night Poetry Prize winner, selected by Franz Wright, Upon Arrival, and several chapbooks. She has been awarded fellowships and residencies from organizations including the Jerome Foundation, the Minnesota State Arts Board, and the Oberholzer Foundation. She serves as co-publisher and co-editor of Beauty School Editions. Please welcome Paula.
And thank you. I for so long just liked it any way I can recognize my last name, like any way. And I just recently realized that many of my old friends can't pronounce my last name. So I was like, I think I'll say something. That's so Midwestern. I was like, it's fun. But maybe I'll just say my own name out loud from time to time. It's really good to be here. I'm honored to be here. Thank you. And then while I was listening to both of you, I was like, oh, I have a poem. I'd love to be in conversation with you. I'm going to rearrange. But I can't. I cannot do that. So I'm going to stick with the plan. But I wanted to just say a little bit. This book has just been out for a couple weeks, and I started it in 2016 after that election, when I didn't really know how to write poems anymore or what it meant to be a poet for a little while. And so I would just have one friend over. I was like, I just want to talk to somebody face to face. I want to have a real conversation, and I would make us tea, and we would have I would give them a tarot reading. And then for a week I would play with the poem, and I would let the news seep in, and then I would give them a draft of the poem as like a gift. So these are all, I don't always write like with a project, but that's what happened with these poems. So I don't think you have to know anything about tarot to, I think a lot of people do, but I don't think you need to for these poems to mean something. So, what happened first happened as if nothing was happening. We lived in houses someone else built, carpooled in vehicles named after endangered species. What happened next was I woke from that nightmare where I'm everybody's dad, and the news was full of assaulters in power who, awake, believe they are everybody's dads. What happens now is language calves like a glacier. My real family speaks in tongues. I can't understand, and I can't understand, but I'm alive. I can't just curl up on the ceiling and dream. What will happen next is that every sentence I put down will, from the ground, vine and flower, a towering future or a flowering torture that's any minute bound to burst wide. And this is also ekphrastic, some art seeps in as well in these times. So I bet a lot of you in here know the Carlsons, know Gary Carlson. This is after one of his assemblage pieces. So it's called Road Trip. Some groups of birds are called a different name depending upon which element they're in, like a flock of ducks in the sky or a paddling of ducks in the water, for example. Has someone forgotten to question a traditional structure we were, as convention dictates, called a family when we were near one another and also when we were farther? Topography noticed occasionally as a nice backdrop to our ancestral spectacle on wheels as we sought more suitable terrain for what's unnameable in each one of us. Nobody related to this scene has ever called any collection of any birds a paddling. Even on vacation, we called what we were making progress. That old saw, camper in tow, for no other reason than to cast our personal shadows across plural national monuments. Shed antler discovered at meadow's threshold. Can we keep it? Or any small token of a world we don't belong to? Why don't we? This whole voyage is beginning to sound autobiographical, but it's inspired by a profound nostalgia for nostalgia. Back inside the bell jar of the imagination, the station wagon, moves Domino, a Rube Goldberg contraption. We didn't know why we were fighting so close for so long, then we weren't. Then we were, again, passing a road sign that read, "Prison area, do not pick up hitchhikers." Inside the high fence we travel by and soon forget lives a group of humans often called by different names than human. Anybody related to this scene might have family lost in there. See the landscape roll by, that parched red of memory's false heat. See the birds, whatever they're called, borrowing the sky. I usually put a short one between a couple that are not super short, but I'll read it very quickly. Variations on silence. I think you will be able to tell. I did a tarot reading for someone here who was from Chicago, and then I went and stayed in his and his wife's apartment and just had the place to myself. So that variations on silence. Silence after traffic drone, after a neighbor in the shared hallway coming all hours home, after cicadas' horny Mayday reminding me, I don't know how, of the volcanic qualities of hope, of ash making eventually fertile soil at someone's current expense. After the violent femme's final encore, a ringing in the ears that never fades but gets forgettable. A friend's silence can be so home-like, but then all the insects go mute. John Cage said, of course, we will never know complete silence. And on a somewhat related note, I have loved some people so hard I thought surely they could read my mind. In a remote cabin in the woods where a writer I know once retreated to complete her novel in solitude, she began to hear an unfamiliar organic squeak in the dark, and it took a long time to identify the sound as her own eyeballs darting around in her own terrified head. use silence as some umbrella term, the way I have occasionally used poetry, I just now realize is deeply unfair, as are some kinds of silence, the structural kinds, that make a cage everyone is both inside and outside, of course some more than others. Why want quiet and then keep asking me that question, asks Joshua Beckman in one of the books I slipped from a shelf in an otherwise vacant house. Sometimes, as in this case, the way one performs or embodies silence is not so much a problem of wanting as matching and variation. I'm not sure I assumed too much too long, all the while feeling open as Rumi's reed flute, or worse, lived in a silence that, as Audre Lorde cautioned, won't protect. But the acoustics of the hollowness amazed. What about the cozy silence of a last standing cup when one hesitates to leave? Whatever's in there, even nothing, is nothing I haven't already drunk plenty of. Anyway, this party's over. The resurrected silence on summer evenings after my neighbor's children have finished singing front porch, top of lungs, about a family God is how silent? How silent is God? What is it like to still love the world? It's like how a person might join a cluster of people in a tight hallway, stalled because the first to arrive at the closed door didn't try to open it, and each later joiner assumed someone earlier had. The smallest small talk, shuffling discomfort, internal worlds on mute to suit the environment. Eventually one person gives the knob a bored turn, and it works, and everyone exits at once, feeling harebrained but temporarily kind of bonded, believing they will never again assume a door is locked until the next time they do. Until we do. A crowd waiting to move into a future that won't reduce. It's like that. So many of the poems that are in this book are like Ginsberg's American sentences. Sometimes they're a little bit tangled, which means that they're like sentence, not haiku, right? 17 syllables. So. Which age of anxiety? Ring, ring, all the phone bank volunteers on anti-anxiety meds. No one answers, our efforts go to voicemail. Who leaves voicemails? Ring, ring. Sky haze reds out, the sun fires wilding 1,000 Canadas away. Isn't a trip to therapy selfish? California's burning too. Don't lecture me about discipline when we don't misbehave enough. Think of Persephone and her brave tamed hunger, save for 3 damn seeds. People need help and so few have the luxury of receiving help. My unspecial needs, my God, get underground and murk things the hell up. What about the past turns its back stubbornly, weapon drawn, be careful. What about a dream hung by the ankles, still isn't doing nothing? Can't get lost enough, but we pay our admission through the corn maze roots. Mother Demeter would be so proud, but pride is not enough. Ring, ring. Ring, ring, our Xanax, our Klonopin, pomegranates, we're not leaving. We do our quests, we fail, our naked shadows wear us curious suits. One final one. Some of the poems I let some complicated anger, hopefully, and well, yes, not hopefully, many other feelings into. But I feel like there's some surprise and hope and just real weirdness about living in the time that we're living in. And so I'm trying to read this last poem that's hopefully that a little more so. Time is weird, right? Yeah, okay. Time faking surprise when the party guests jump out and yell, surprise. It's never not Time's birthday. Time frosting one side of the moon with light. Time licking light off the other side of the moon. Time everywhere and nowhere, like that jealous, monotheistic God who keeps you waiting outside the funeral parlor in the rain. The power cuts out in a storm, fear and relief. The stove clock quits blinking at you for once. That one kid who can't fall asleep at the slumber party, that kid's staring at the inky ceiling of time. Time borrowing my fogged up glasses, the prescription's outdated. Time dragging this best Ziggy Stardust bolt across we should be home by now. Put a votive candle in a paper boat and set it afloat down the night river. That diminishing flicker of light is not time. Time picking at an iceberg lettuce wedge, such a disinterested blind date. Time altering the rising action, tying your bootlaces together. Time flashing its prurient womb tomb at everyone while everyone makes small talk and looks at our shoes. You say, I'm in love with you at 2 o'clock. And the clock says it's 2:30. Don't let time break your heart. Time's drunk in its rustic she shed while some perennials come in nicely. Time's not a clock. Time's a gate we can't find because we found it. We're still walking through it. Time seems like forever. It's a blizzard. Time dreaming again of waking in the back seat of a moving car, no one at the wheel. Time distracting itself from the enormity of itself by doom-scrolling Elon Musk news. You think you're alone in your bed? You're not. You sleep with time. The past, the present, the future, the never, time's eternal barbershop quartet. Too many perfectly ripe strawberries for one person. That's just like time. Time catching itself in the mirror and shedding a tear, chronic as ever. Most of time's jokes are only funny to time. Time arrived sealed in a pink envelope you didn't open until I was gone. Try to put time away for an hour. Where did you put away? A weed, a seed, a need, a hunger without greed. 4 of these things are not time. My ear to time's chest, sound of the Milky Way thundering. Time finally asks for help, blowing the infinite candles out. Thanks again, everybody.
Thank you, Paula. And pardon again for massacring your last name. I just want to read this one line because I just really loved it so much. On page 47, everybody get everybody's books. My unspecial needs, my God, get underground and work things the hell up. Such good advice for us right now. Before we have our next reader, our last reader, we another. What am I trying to say? We do this. Pass the basket around before Diego's going to go and do something else. While he's doing that, we pass the basket around because the church has been so kind to let us use this space, and so we just, if anybody wants to toss in a little donation, so this is good for anyone who wants to do this or go to the bathroom. I'd also like to mention that I leave cards for the Writers for Democratic Action Minnesota with these books over here. If you're interested in, you can become a member. There's no fee. We just launched the website at the time of the No Kings rally, so we're still in process. We have a journal page where you can maybe submit some writing. We'll be doing a reading with Cracked Walnut sometime in the fall at their writing festival. We will be doing It Can't Happen Here readings that happened a couple times since we are the homeland of St. Clair Lewis. These are readings, a theater piece that anybody can read and everybody does it at the same time all around the country. We'll also be involved with banned books in October as well. That's going on, so we'll be partnering with other people with that, and hopefully book the vote, since we kind of need to think about the coming election. So if you're interested, it's just it's a community. It's our way of connecting with other writers. More and more people. I mean, there are people who are in this Writers for Democratic Action all over the country and all over the world, actually. So, but not all states have it. So we're new, and please join us. We're really excited to turn things around and respond. And so I think we need all the voices we can get. I guess I'm going to wait. Anyone else have anything? There's books that you can buy. I'm just going to keep saying that because I think it's important. We support each other. I will mention, as long as we're waiting, who is reading in August. Oh, okay. I'll find that later. Oh, here it is. Okay, so. Come on up. So Diego Vazquez Jr. has never met an illegal alien human. I've never met an illegal human. In 2012, Diego established the Women's Writing Program for incarcerated women in county jails. He is the editor of more than 40 anthologies of poems written by women in the jails, and the author of Growing Through Ugly from W.W. Norton, New York, New York. Please welcome Diego Vazquez Jr.
Sorry, I have to bring my luggage in. I think I'm okay. So, first of all, thank you. It's an honor to be here, and I have to bring my luggage because I'm not going to be reading strictly my own poems, but I will start with some of my old poems. And the reason I'm doing that because I was struck by the nature of when you're preparing for a reading. Well, when I prepare for a reading, I just, I depend on serendipity and randomness, and I'll dig through piles of old stuff with my background noise saying, avoid nostalgia, stay the hell way out of the past, don't bring the past to the present, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, none of that mattered. I found an old book, and I was amazed at the publication date, 1993. I'm going to start with a poem that was published. This was, I usually don't even refer to this book because speaking of last names, they misspelled my name. It was poorly edited. A couple of my lines are missing on some of my poems in here, but I kept the book anyway. The anthology was from New Chicano Writing by the University of Arizona. Somewhere. Yeah, University of Arizona Press in Tucson. Well, the first poem that was published in there is titled, No Clarence, Not Kafka, It is the Prince. You must have reread Machiavelli, recalling power at all cost. I will never believe you, but it no longer matters because you'll be kicking ass for the rest of my life. I did enjoy your return to brotherhood for a miraculous few hours where the 12 white men asked you insensitive questions. And of course, you would not answer because you had been disrespected. Right? Your honor. Men with your shade of truth cannot have seasonal thoughts for a beautiful woman, much less about women and of their rights, the privilege. When Anita spoke, your Christian-educated wife sent you home. And before the vote, Virginia wanted the kitchen blinds shut tightly, so both of you could focus and sing along with almighty recordings scored from battlefields of good and evil. Well, Clarence, you must have learned from your private sessions that to lie for a position on the Supreme Bench is good. And a woman carrying any truth around her neck must be evil. That's surprising, isn't it? 1990, seems like only yesterday. Well, since I'm back in the past, and so it's that thing about, sure, everything changes, but some people, a lot of people just never change, but the shit they do gets worse and worse. Worse and worse and worse. Okay, enough. So while I was in this book, I realized, well, shoot, why not? There's a couple of other timeless poems in here. I didn't know. It's funny how sometimes you write and you don't realize some of the stuff you've written really does survive time. Greeting a cardinal on the Sonoran Desert. I was in between a funeral, a busted romance, a new promise of forever, and a red small bird landed 2 inches from my burning face. It hopped into the air. After a quick conclusion, I was mad. Bird, I'm in love. Come back, you can land on my toes. I'll not move nor breathe until you listen. It returned, offering me its brief red, knowing me as a sucker for anything that beautiful. All right, I'm going to go back into the last one, I think. I just decided I'm going to go ahead and read this one because it's just, all the government violations we live through, whether it's the orange person or not, government violations are so consistent. On the violations of poetry, the first thing I read to my kid, to my baby, she was 6 days old. It was an account of Neruda, dragged, dying from his Isla Negra home. Don Pablo cried, and Matilda said it was her first time ever to see him so. Alma Isal caressed his words, and we were tight navigators with him as our captain. He left us olas sufficient to displease migrant powers like builders of satellite dishes south of Santiago. Neruda's last home is surrounded in the black coal of a government-installed fence and salt troughs of exiles in a constant wave, returning to his house, bearing his gifts of scrawled words on the decaying fence. Just a brief history lesson at the time. At the time, they had surrounded, after Neruda's death, they surrounded his Isla Negra home. The government did, fenced it in so there could be no visitors, no anything. They were trying to make them not exist. Well, what people did was constantly, they would just swarm to the fence and just scrawl all kinds of stuff. They kept writing, they'd rewrite Neruda's odes and their own poems and tell Don Pablo who they'd named their kids after. It was just constantly the government would come and whitewash the fence, and the crowds would show up again. So anyway, cool. Okay, before one last one of mine, then we'll get to the other pieces. Again, timeless. A friend of mine, David Benston, he does a lot of music projects sometimes. He'll borrow poems. And it surprised me that he asked me once to use this poem, and I said, it's one of those, you forget you even wrote it. Oh, that's mine? Sure. You want it? Yeah, use it. got a simple title, Love. It might begin when the schoolyard full with children sounds the bell for class. A small jump across the mud with two quiet birds sitting on the fence. On a hillside with snow and laughter, both reaching for the sun. In a field picking wild things that grow all the time, filling that empty basket and holding your hand. Listening to a choir or sitting for a bad play and laughing together as others applaud. Catching the first returning salmon with a yarn fly and releasing it only so that it can continue further upstream. Sitting together, watching nesting creatures lifting into a first flight, and we breathe heavily. Kneeling in your garden with dirt on our fingers and seeds in our palms dropping onto the earth. Following you to a room filled with room for us, and looking in your eyes, and looking in your eyes. Now we'll get to the real stuff. Talk about coincidental too. As I was going through I won't ramble too much. Let me check. What I'm going to be reading from is the project that was referred to earlier about the women's writing program, and boy, that program was magnificent. My first co-partner on that program when we first started was Tish Jones, and then the program just sparkled and just intensified during the years when co-partnered with Marcy Rendon. So those are some really good times. Oh, I don't need that. DFL card. This is a bookmark. I'll get it. Anyway, well, so I wasn't actually going to go to the very first book of the anthology series, but as I'm looking at it, the first. Maybe it's the wrong one. Oops. No, okay. At the end of when we would do these programs in the jails, we also held publication readings. Obviously, we couldn't do them outside. We did them inside the jails, and they were very well. They let for the readings in the jails. They would let all the other inmates attend, and along with all the administrators, the sheriff. And we had a lot of judges and lawyers would show up, and we had, I can't remember her name right now, but she was an ex-Minnesota Supreme Court justice that used to come to a lot of our Washington County readings. So anyway, the readings were just, they were great markers of success for the women who got published. I can remember so many women holding this book and just, wow. You know, the look that they did something. You know, they would say, this is the only thing I've ever done in my life. Oh, wow. Anyway, the very first publication reading of that was, oh yeah, thanks for the reminder, July 10th, wow. 2013. Wow. July 10th. So, and I'm not home. I never answered. I know I got bills. they follow you everywhere. No, really, I paid it. Okay. Anyway, for the very first book, we borrowed the title from a Rilke poem. A line from one of Rilke's poems, For the Sake of a Single Poem. And just quickly, the woman who wrote this poem, at that time we weren't using last names, so she was just Brianna S. And she titled her poem Self-Portrait. The life before dirt, I had love and beauty, Then glass entered my life. All I can picture is a death, race, and self-hate. Anyway, unlike Brianna, so her poem, let me give you her bio real quick. They had more poems. Artist statement. Brianna, my definition, where I come from, what I strive to be and how I'm getting there, it's my culture. I dare you to try and take it from me. Okay, that one was kind of pre-planned. The rest I'm just going to randomly pick a few, run out my time, run out the clock. I try not to go over. I'm not going to read from all this. I'll be here all night. This one from episode number, program. Oh, the first book was from Ramsey County Jail. That's where that took place. This one took place in, also, I think, Ramsey County. Yes. The funny part about Ramsey County, we started the program at Ramsey County, and Ramsey County was the first jail to kick our asses out. And I always joke with Marcy, because I always blame her, because it was during one of her sessions that they tossed us out, because they said we were giving the women too much freedom. Other stuff behind it. But anyway, so Ramsey County was weird. And I'm sorry I lost track. Forget Ramsey County. Let me jump to, Washington County. This was Washington County a few years later. Oh, the other, real quick about the program. The covers, all the artwork on the covers and everything else was done by the women. All the work in there at the end. I edited them. And, we made them into books. But so many of the women, never had experienced editing, much less, being published in a book. And one of their favorite titles for me was, "You're the ruiner of our work." Anyway, and the titles of all the anthologies were quite a process at the end, because I would ask them all the title had to be unanimously agreed upon, because I would tell them, yes, you're all individuals in here, but it's something, you have to all be comfortable with the title. Because I don't want to hear, 10 years down the road, you're showing somebody the book, and you say, oh yeah, I'm in this book, but I really don't like the title. Too bad. And sometimes it would take us 2 or 3 days to finally decide on a title. Anyway, this one was No Sugar-Coated Dreams. And I'm just going to randomly carry. Oh, Jean. The poet is named Zhang Ji, and boy, was she incarcerated for a while. In fact, I ran into her in Sherburne County, and a couple years later I'm dropping her. A couple years later, she was in Washington County. Immigration shit. I don't have 9 lives. I cut myself open. So when do I have such talent in surgery? Letting the blood drip. Put the wrist in the bathtub, watch the water turning red. I hear the siren from far to close. Conscious or dreaming? I hear pounding on the door. Someone yelling my name. Boom. 4 guns point at me. Best suicide rescue I've ever seen. My last thought before passing out. Lucky me. They're here. I am alive. One last one. I'll do the other one. John, she was, a quick other poem. Don't talk to me like you know me. You see me. Double take. Walk to me. Sit down. Buy me a drink. Start your bullshit. Tom, Sam, or Saddam. I don't care about your name. Whether I chose the right lipstick or if this dress is good on me. Don't pretend to talk to me like a shrink. I know you will walk away in 5 minutes. People laugh saying that I'm crazy. I laugh, but they don't know me. Thank you for your time. I think
This is important.
Oh, yeah. All right, thanks.
Thank you so much. Please, we have time for purchasing books, and then the other tradition of our reading series is to all go to Sweeney's afterwards and have a to-go or iced tea or something and continue a poetic conversation. So you're certainly welcome to join us. It's not too far from here. If you don't know where it is, we'll tell you where it is. But thank you so much for coming tonight. We really appreciate it. Thank you.